My name is Bridget Hart and I'm here at my atelier in Carmichael, California, and today I'm going to show you how to thread a needle. And it is a basic skill and it's quite easy to do once you get the hang of it, and it's just practice, right? So I have some different needles here. I have a needle threading tool, which is easier sometimes if it's dim light or your eyes aren't working so good. This will help you. I also have some little scissors here, and that will help with cutting of the thread. And I also have some embroidery floss, and I will show you how to separate the strands, and that will help you as you begin your needle and stitch book. If you've purchased these before, they're a little booklet that you can make, and it holds needles, and there's a space for your scissors, for a seam ripper, and it gives you a chance to practice your stitching. And then there is a kit that you can purchase. So there is the booklet, and this is what the kit looks like when you get it, and all the pieces. So that is what that is, and I just wanted to show that. So basic skill of threading a needle. So there's different needles, there's different heads. It kind of depends on the thickness of your fabric. So this is a huge needle, probably good for denim or some really sturdy fabric, but I will use this for demonstration purposes. It might be easier to see. So I have embroidery floss here. So embroidery floss comes with 6 strands, and so when you get it, it'll look like this, and there's all kinds of beautiful colors, more colors than you can even imagine. So I'm going to use the white one because it might be easier to see. But anyway, you find the end. There is a special way to do it, and usually they recommend that you take an elbow length of thread, and that prevents knotting, any difficulties later down the road. But I want to do it double just because I'm going to double my thread. So I'm going to take double that, so that's about that length, so about 1 yard, and I'm going to clip it right there. And then you will notice that there are 6 different strands in this embroidery floss. So I find it easier to separate 2 at a time. You could use all 6 strands if you'd like. You could use 2 strands, 3 strands, 4 strands, it doesn't really matter. But it's easier to separate the strands if you do 2 at a time or 3 at a time. If you do 1 at a time, it gets a little more messy at the end, and you'll see why. So I take 2 of the strands, and here are 4 of the strands. So I'm just gonna slowly start separating, and the thread will twist, especially when you get towards the bottom. And if you're lucky, it works, but sometimes it gets caught up. And right now it's getting caught up. So before it gets into a knot, I'm going to pull it a little bit, and then I'm going to use my finger to keep it from getting into a knot. So here's 4 strands, and here's 2 strands. All right. Now I'm only going to use 1 of these strands, and I'm going to double it. Otherwise, I could do 2 strands, and then I would actually be sewing with 4 strands. So it's different ways of doing it, but I'm going to just show you for demonstration purposes. So now here are 2 strands, and now I'm going to separate these 2 strands. And that gives you more thread to work with eventually, but you can take 2 strands as well. So I'm going to just take my finger and separate the strands that way. And now they're going to roll back up on each other. See that? Because they're twisted kind of. So now, here we go. So now here is 1 strand. See that? I'm going to take my needle, and I'm going to put it through the hole. So some people like to put the needle towards the thread, other people like to put the thread towards the needle. So It's just going to take practice. All right, so now we have the thread and I've evened it out, so now there's 2 threads hanging out of the needle's eye, and I'm going to take the bottom and I'm going to tie a knot. So both of these strands right there will be knotted up. So I just put it around my finger and I pull that little tail through. And then if you want to do a double knot, which some people do, you just pull it through again. All right, so now you have a little loop, and I'm going to just push this little loop all the way down, holding the end, and then it's going to be a big knot. So that way it's not going to go through my fabric. Okay, and that's one way to do it. So now you're dealing with one strand of thread, but it's doubled. So you'll have a nice, visible embroidery thread to use. So that's one way to do it.